They have proclaimed martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President by the Constitution of the Philippines.
The people were in EDSA in droves once again. If it was the new millennium, the only indication were overhead motor bridges and trains. If it was anti-dictatorship in 1986, it was anti-presidential hooliganism and corruption in 2000 and 2001. The failure of those bestowed power in decades past to change Philippine society coagulated into an orgy of killings, abductions, and torture. Its legitimacy questioned, and desperate to protect its hold to power, the Arroyo government unleashed the campaign against its people that rivaled martial law in spite and malice. Before the decade reached midpoint, the number of journalists killed since 1986 reached more than 100. Victims of extrajudicial killings reached 1,000. Hundreds were forcibly disappeared, while political prisoners piled up in jails. The countryside was filled with cries for justice, while the most rabid military officers were promoted and praised to high heavens for doing their job well. The martial law tragedy played all over again.
Ang kaibahan ng EDSA 1 sa EDSA 2, ang EDSA 1 it's against the dictatorship, di ba? It's against Marcos, the dictatorship of Marcos. Ang EDSA 2 it's against a corrupt president, si Erap. Tagumpay ng EDSA 2, nanalo yan, napaalis si Erap, but ang naging problema sa EDSA 2, ang umupo ay isa pa ring corrupt na presidente, and it was proven immediately after makaupo si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Ang isa sa pinakamatinding gobyerno when it comes to corruption, human rights abuses, comparable to the Marcos regime, ito ng Gloria. Ang sinasabi pa nga ng iba, mas matindi. At ang isa pa rin kay Gloria na talagang maliwanag na maliwanag, hindi lang yung corruption, hindi lang yung human rights violations, hindi lang yung mga pagpatay, kundi yung mismong kanyang ginawang pagnanakaw ng boto sa eleksyon. At saka alam naman natin sa panahon ni Gloria, Gloria supported General Palparan na hanggang ngayon ay nagtatago dahil sa mga human rights abuses na ginawa niya, pagkidnap, pagpatay.
No 2007 nawala si Jonas. Pero nung nawala si Jonas, wala na si Joe. Hindi ko naman gustong isa sa mga anak ko na naman ang isunod. So I had to be the spokesperson of the family. Hanggang ngayon, tulad nito, may bagong pangyayari naman. Akala ko tahimik na ako. Ayan, si Anyo, senior ina na isa chief. Hindi pwedeng hindi ako magsalita. Kasi siya, isa sa mga main respondents namin. The family and the lawyers believe, because of what we see in the evidence and what we know, that he had a direct hand in the abduction of my son. Nung martial law, ang dami ng oppressive measures, no? Hindi makapagsalita ng tao, natatakot. Hanggang ngayon, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pagdukot. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang extrajudicial killings. Sinasawalang bahala nitong mga perpetrators yung batas. No? Ang pwede kong maging mensahe is we still have to be vigilant. No? We still have to protect our rights. Hahayaan na lang ba natin na tuloy-tuloy na sapilitan pagdukot at pinapatay na lang ang mga pinaghihinalaan pa lang na na mga kontra sa gobyerno?
Ang Freedom from Death Coalition ay inanak ng isang napakalaking problemang nilikha ng martial law o ng Marcos dictatorship. At yan ay ang napakalaking foreign debt. Katunayan, noong 1962, ang utang ng bansa ay $360 million. Nang bumagsak si Marcos o matapos ang martial law, ang utang natin ay $28.3 billion. Almost 8 times. Ngayon, saan napunta yan? Ngayon ko itatanong, ano nangyari mula nung bumagsak si Marcos hanggang itong taong ito, 2012, kung saan mga sunod-sunod na administrasyon ang pumalit, no? Mrs. Aquino, Mr. Ramos, Mr. Estrada, Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, at ngayon ay si Presidente Noynoy Aquino, no? Kung utang ang pag-uusapan at external debt, lumaki panlalo. Kung 28.3 billion noong 1986, yan ay umabot na ng $62.5 billion nung kalahating taon ng 2012. Ibig sabihin, halos nag-times 3 pa.
So impunity is still there. Nananatili yan kasi wala namang nakukulong, wala namang nabibigyan ng hustisya. Kahit naman yung sa Maguindanao hanggang ngayon ay nananatili pa. So it's the same thing all over again.
Bilang isang human rights advocate ay nalulungkot ako sa patuloy na hindi pagresolba ng mga seryosong mga kaso ng paglabag sa karapatang pantao, lalo na yung mga pagpaslang, pagdukot, no? May isang factor dito na babanggit ko na sa bisa ng EDSA People Power, want kung tawagin, EDSA Revolution, yung dalawang pangunahing implementor ng martial law, si Juan Ponce Enrile at si Fidel Ramos, naging hero sila, naging leader din sila ng Armed Forces and Defense sa ilalim ni Cory Aquino, at yung hindi na isagawa, yung pagre-reform, pag-weed out ng mga human rights violators sa Armed Forces of the Philippines, at kaya yun nakatulong ng malaki sa pagpapatuloy ng yung trend ng human rights violations. Kaya lang sa ilalim ng Pinoy na sobra ang kanyang emphasis dun sa anti-corruption na kulang ng pansin sa human rights violation.
Steeled by past defeats, victories, and struggles, a people rose to defy an oppressive government. Never again became a battle cry, and the state was forced to back down somewhat, somehow. In an election that ended the decade, it rejected a dispensation that represented only the horrors and none of the hopes of the past. Desperate to regain a promise lost, the people waxed wistful about the death of Corazon Aquino and propelled her son to the presidency to fulfill that which remained unrealized. Despite sincere efforts of President Benigno Aquino III, many perpetrators remain unpunished. But while human rights violations continue, the Filipino people's indomitable spirit yet rises, and the struggle continues.